Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
I'm Sonali Manik-Badake. We start off with a look at the stories making headlines tonight.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa has questioned whether some are saying there is no development in the north to please the international community. The Indian government says it will continue to support Sri Lanka's reconciliation efforts. While Kotte monk murder suspects remanded, lawyer appearing on behalf of the suspects attacked.
Now for the news in detail. President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that those who never visited the north have now started going there following the commencement of the UN Human Rights Council sessions in Geneva and are claiming that no development work has been carried out. The President made this comment while speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the One Project for One Village program at the Vaviti Maitri Vidyalaya grounds in Bandaragama today.
The reconstruction of the Vavita Reservoir commenced today under the auspices of the President, marking the inauguration of the One Project for One Village program under the 2012 Jatika Savya Gama Naguma concept. According to the President's media unit, this program is being simultaneously implemented in 14,019 villages across the country. The President also upgraded the Vavita Maitri Vidyalaya to a secondary school and also declared open the Divi Naguma greenhouse.
Geneva Nagare අපිට විරුද්ධව ඇමරිකාව ගේනකොට යෝජනාව.
When the United States brought forward a resolution against us in Geneva, some people, some leaders who never visited the north, went near the bunker where Prabhakaran stayed and said that nothing has been done in this area. Nothing has been done for the people and no development work has been carried out. To whom are they giving this message? Is it for the people in the north or the people in the south? Or is it for the Tamil diaspora who funded the war? Or is it for the countries who are going to vote in Geneva? We would like to say clearly that we will not allow anyone to infringe on the sovereignty of this country.
අයතුල් ලෙස බලපෑම් කරන්න අපි ඉඩ තියන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකත් අපි පැහැදිලිව තමුන්නාන්සේලාට කියන්නේ.
India's Ministry of External Affairs says that any assistance from the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights or visits of UN Special Representatives should take place in consultation with and with the concurrence of the Sri Lankan government. Issuing a communique, the ministry added that it will continue to remain engaged with the government of Sri Lanka and will support it to take forward the process of reconciliation to secure for all its citizens a future marked by equality, dignity, justice and self-respect.
India's Ministry of External Affairs made these remarks in a communique issued to explain India's support for the US-sponsored resolution on Sri Lanka at the UNHRC in Geneva yesterday. In its communique, India has urged the government of Sri Lanka to take forward the process of broader dialogue and move towards meaningful devolution of power, including implementation of the 13th Amendment and beyond. It also noted that this process would bring about genuine reconciliation between all the communities in Sri Lanka, including the Tamil community. The communique states that India believes the primary responsibility for the promotion and protection of human rights lies with the country. It added that resolutions of this nature should fully respect the sovereignty of Sri Lanka and contribute to its own efforts to protect human rights. Meanwhile, at the US State Department's daily press briefing in Washington, D.C. yesterday, attention was drawn towards the reconciliation efforts in Sri Lanka.
Now after this passing of the resolution by UNHCR, what are the options Sri Lanka has, and if it doesn't implement those recommendations, what is going to face now?
Well, this is pretty straightforward. It's not any different than what we've been asking for since November, which is for the government of Sri Lanka to communicate to its own people, but also to the international community, what it intends to do to implement the LLRC's recommendations. Specifically, we want to see Sri Lanka take concrete action that brings accountability and reconciliation, and to put forward a formal implementation plan on the recommendation.
Do they have any timeline for this? Have they informed you anything?
As soon as possible. We've been proposing and urging this kind of action for many months now.
In a statement, Secretary also mentioned that she is looking forward to meet the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister. Do you know when this is expected, the meeting?
I don't think it's been scheduled yet.
Meanwhile, at the UN daily press briefing held yesterday, a journalist raised a question about Sri Lanka.
Earlier today in Geneva at the Human Rights Council, there was a resolution on Sri Lanka which many of the speakers referred to the Secretary General's panel of experts report. It was adopted 24-15. I wanted to know first, given that his history with this issue, if he has any comment on it.
Given the panel of experts' assessment that a number of allegations of serious violations of international humanitarian and human rights law were credible, he felt it was incumbent on him to share the report of the panel of experts with the UN Human Rights Council and the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and that the support of the international community in helping Sri Lanka move forward for the accountability issue is critical, given the serious concerns raised by the panel about violations of international humanitarian and human rights law.
Various views were expressed on political platforms today on the UN Human Rights Council adopting a resolution on Sri Lanka in Geneva yesterday.
In 2009, Sri Lanka was able to defeat the resolution brought forward by the UNHCR. But this year we lost the vote. The government gave various promises to the international community and we lost the vote because the government didn't fulfill these promises. It was a message that we received from Geneva yesterday. We need to implement the recommendations contained in the LLRC report. The UNP is ready to provide its fullest support towards this. There is a clear change in India's foreign policy. India considers all international problems, especially problems in the region, based on that foreign policy. When it comes to problems in the region, the United States' position is to work together with India. It is the aim of the US to maintain India's big brother status and ensure their needs are met. While our representatives were trying to win the support of other nations, the opposition leader suddenly went to Jaffna. He joined hands with the TNA and said that he cannot see any spring in Jaffna and that the people are despondent. He made this statement to those who were against us in Geneva, to the forces which had joined hands and established camps against us. But we are thankful to UNP Deputy Leader Sajid Premadasa, who stood for the sovereignty of the nation. We do not believe that India is a friend. This incident has made it exceedingly clear. For example, if we take oil on the basis of competition, we do not mind if the Indians or the US come here to dig for oil. But we will not extend it as a privilege, because through this they have put us in trouble. When the resolution was brought in, the DMK warned the Indian government that if they voted against it, they would leave the government. If those 18 people left the government, that is if the Indian government voted for us on the 22nd, then on the 23rd morning, it would have been the end of the coalition government. In such a situation, would we have made such a decision? But we can vindicate ourselves in the knowledge that they did so because of internal political compulsions.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajid Premadasa, states that if Sri Lanka had a strong foreign policy, then the outcome at the UN Human Rights Council session in Geneva could have been different. I see the passing of the resolution against Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva as a death blow to the sovereignty and independence of this country. What was the reason for such a blow to be dealt to our country? One is the weak, disabled and ineffective foreign policy. If we had a strong policy based on unity, engagement and discussion with the international community using modern mechanisms instead of challenging the international community, then I do not think such a resolution would ever have been passed. The foreign policy being implemented today is not one favourable to the country. It has put the needs of the country on the back burner and is instead putting forward a private agenda based on personal needs.
පුද්ගලිකත්වය පෞද්ගලික න්‍යාය පත්‍රයන් ඉදිරියට ගැනීම නිසා
UNP parliamentarian Sujiva Senasinghe says that the international community is getting involved in the country's issues as the government has failed to establish good governance with the end of the war. He expressed this view in Parliament yesterday.
The war was conducted in a proper manner. It was said that the president led the war. A war cannot be conducted and won without the guidance of the president and the support of the defense secretary. But you must have forgotten Sarath Fonseca. That is because he is now in jail. Due to acts of political revenge of one or two individuals, Sarath Fonseca is in jail. We tend to point a finger at the international community and state there is law and order in the country. After the end of the war, it was important to cast aside all political differences and grudges and work towards the betterment of the country. We kept saying that we will not get this opportunity again. What should have been done was not run behind Sarath Fonseca seeking revenge. What should have been done was to work towards the development of the country. But that never happened. Our main supporters to carry out the war were the USA and India. Many parliamentarians might not know about this. Especially Robert Blake and officials of the Indian government directly helped us to win the war. In order to protect the country, we are not only ready to go before the UN, but anywhere else as well. Not only will we tie black bands, but also carry black flags. The UN has not said that they are imposing sanctions against us because we killed Prabhakaran. What they are saying is that there should be good governance in the country.
Speaking in Parliament today, Acting Minister of External Affairs D.E.W. Gunasekara made a statement on the resolution on Sri Lanka, which was passed by the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday.
Prejudging the efforts and even our intentions of a sovereign country and independent member of the state of the international community by way of such action will unwittingly or unwittingly subscribe to the efforts and the agenda of the terrorist Trump to derail the delicate peace and reconciliation efforts in the country. We are mindful of certain domestic compulsions that force some of our neighbors, traditional friends, to act in the way they did. However, such reactions will not in any way strain our long-established relations with them. The action by the Council will not prevent us continuing our relations and engagement with countries, even with those who could not support us. As we have done in the past, especially in trying times of our nation, we will open our doors for assistance and as and when we feel they are essential, and when a situation is beyond our capacity. Mr. Speaker, we will not, under any circumstances, allow others to impose on us their advice or solutions. One could no doubt agree that it is the government of Sri Lanka which is best placed in evolving a homegrown solution acceptable to all the citizens of the country.